Imagine you're watching someone bake you a cake. Can you imagine that for a minute? Of course. So you watch them add the flour, the sugar, the eggs, and you think, gee, this cake is looking pretty good. Then they pull down their pants and just start pissing in the batter. Just the most gut-wrenching, horrendous, hardcore piss you can imagine. Straight in there, like for a full minute. So after that ends, you watch them plop the piss batter into the oven, then it bakes and it is in front of you before you know it. So anyone who isn't into that sort of thing would immediately say, this is gross. I'm not eating this cake, it's got piss in it. But then imagine some Joe Schmo pulls up and goes, nah, stop being a little bitch. I bet this cake is really good. To which anyone who isn't into that sort of thing would immediately say, are you fucking kidding me? This man literally just emptied enough piss to flood a barn into that batter. I ain't touching it. To which this pissmonger replies, nah, it's a good cake. You just have to ignore the parts where he pissed in it and it's fine. And then the two of you have a several-hour-long argument on a Twitter post by the Pokemon Company. So that analogy sucked ass, but hopefully you got my point. So, is the game any good? Well, it could have been, but it's got piss in it. Oh my god, I think the 3-ish weeks or something leading up to the release of this game have been the weirdest I've ever had. The general opinion on the game flip-flopped so much that it made my head spin. It's good. It's bad. It's good again. Some bozo leaks it, as per usual, and it doesn't look that good. Everyone on Twitter is like, holy shit, Game Freak lied to us and everything is terrible. Look at how bad the graphics are. To which the opposition was like, no, he slowed down the emulator engine so the game would run like trash. It will be fine. But he actually didn't, and I don't know where that argument came from, so. And then back and forth with Twitter hashtags, and the game releases and it's not that great. But people still buy it anyways. Well, okay, I'm being too hard on it. Sword and Shield aren't bad games. Like, not bad like we had with Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. To sum up everything I'm gonna say in 10 seconds, Sword and Shield are the most inconsistent games I've ever played, with genuinely good points and enjoyable experiences being bogged down by a flood of stupid shit. To sum up this video in several minutes, well, let's take it one topic at a time. Alright, boom, first non-spin-off Switch game. It looks okay, I guess. Some parts really don't look that great. And this is what I think has garnered the most controversy, other than the National Dex debacle, which I'll cover at the end. With the graphics, we see the first example of Sword and Shield's biggest problem, inconsistency. There are areas that look beautiful and vibrant and lovely, and then there are some that are just dog shit. Some characters look great, and then you have characters who flap their gums for several seconds, for no reason. Most of the towns are really nice and atmospheric, and a huge step up from the last generation, and then you have the wild area, which I'll cover in depth in a bit, but pretty much there's a reason why everyone harped on it for that one tree that belongs in a Nintendo 64 game. Oh wait, that's actually every tree. I'm not one of those people who goes around with a magnifying glass and says, yes, there is inconsistencies with a shadow texture and anti-aliasing, blah, 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 blah. This doesn't look good. This definitely got the most attention graphics-wise, and for good reason. And, you know, like I said, there are places that look great, but it's not consistently good. I also want to talk about the, high-quality animations we got, in big quotation marks there. Or, of course, lack thereof. Because there aren't any. That's the joke. I get that the Switch isn't a massive powerhouse, we aren't playing this on an Xbox Series X or whatever, but why do all these Pokemon phase in and out of existence? Why does time stop whenever I go up a ladder? Is that a high-quality animation? Why does Pierce have a cutscene where he dances for 15 seconds in complete silence? I'm not going to harp on this too much because people who are a lot better at complaining than I am have already compiled several videos about this, so, you know, go watch those instead. There are definitely some notable issues with the animation, but the entire game isn't like this. Some portions of the game look wonderful, like I said, but there are a lot of moments where the game looks like ass, like I said. But when I say things like this through the video where it's like, oh, parts are good, but other parts are bad, please keep this in mind. This is a $60 game. That's a lot of money. That's more than 8 hours of minimum wage work to afford in most places, depending on where you live. Is a game that poops directly into my eyeballs 40% of the time worth 8 hours of my life that I'm not gonna get back? No. Honestly, no. Now, in my previous videos, I lumped graphics and music together. I have no complaints over the music. That shit is masterful. It's real good. Now, of course, by the title of this video, I'm implying that this game sorta sucks, because of the ridiculous inconsistency throughout. Even if those same issues pop up in the story, the rest of it makes up for it, honestly. I mean, it's a Pokemon game that's more or less as formulaic as ever, and, you know, this time it's good at doing that. It's got gym leaders back, and they actually have characters. You have rivals that feel like actual people. Hey, by the end of the game, I actually felt for Hop. Like, dude, I hate myself too, and I could feel that this inferiority complex-ass dude wanted to rip me a new one. Even if the story is more or less the same formula as every other time, it's okay, it's good. They made some good improvements to it. But then you run into some pacing problems. Nothing to ruin the game, but enough to make me stop and scratch my head. There are two major ones that I want to cover. First off, Bed A. Bede? BD? How the fuck do you pronounce? I'm just gonna call him Bed. His name is Bed. Do you have any idea how cool it would have been to have a character who completely detested your fucking guts? Who actually, like, wanted you dead, but in a PG-rated sort of way. You ruined this ultimate lucky student motherfucker's life. And instead of continuing that subplot with him, he's like, no, I'm going to resolve my story arc halfway through the game and then disappear until the very end. And I actually like how his arc ended. The scene with Opal, who is a bitch and I fucking hate her, was funny. But it happened way too soon. If we could have battled this jabroni a few more times before this Thatcher-ass bitch swooped in, it definitely would have stood out among the rest of the story. A relatively small pacing issue in hindsight, but one I wanted to bring up. And the other one's the big one, the ending. Or specifically the last hour-ish of the game. Okay, now picture this. You're me, playing the game non-stop for several days, your opinions are iffy, and then they hit you with this. And you're blown away. But then... The music combined with the grand spectacle of a gauntlet with everyone whose ass you've kicked over the course of the game is an incredible concept. It was friggin' awesome. Once I beat Hop here, I was like, alright, they keep this up and the last hour of this game is gonna be even better than Black and White. That is a hot-ass take, but they were doing it, man. But then at this point in development, some bozo at Game Freak went, hey, did we forget to add the legendary subplot? To which some other bozo went, what legendary subplot? To which the first bozo replied, the one we had with the last game, where the person who is nice is actually evil and wants to do evil things. And then the box legendary shows up and makes sure that doesn't happen. And so now we have to pause this incredible final battle streak to go stop Chancellor Dadbot in the most boring way possible. But then he gets tired and goes home, so the subplot stops. Why? I don't know why. And then the game comes back with that giant-ass tournament among the gym leaders before the champion battle. Dude, fuck yes, this is way better than your average Elite Four. Now we're getting somewhere. And that somewhere we're getting is right back into that storyline we stopped doing halfway through the best part of the game. Oh no, we have to finish that now. Because no one in the office said, don't we usually do this kind of thing a bit earlier in the game? So now you and the dog stop the big evil hand monster, and instead of having an epic final battle with Leon, you're sitting there wondering what you would have to do to wipe this game from your memory. And then comes the post-game, but okay, hold on a second. So you may have noticed at this point that I haven't brought up the expansion pass at all. That's because the direct where it was announced literally happened the day after I finished the script, and I'm writing this 10 minutes after the direct ended. So if I tend to shoehorn it in sometimes, that's why. That being said, it's not out yet, so let's talk about the post-game features we have so far. Yeah, there isn't a whole lot. While it was nice to see some new dialogue with the various gym leaders during the story with, these guys, especially the ones that get like no screen time, the entire section is just a slog. Go here, fight a Dynamax Pokemon. Fight Mr. Penis Hair. Go fight another Dynamax Pokemon. And that's it! That's the entire post-game mission. There's now nothing else to do in this game other than the regular bucket list in every other mainline Pokemon game. Look, if I wanted to shiny hunt, I'd do it in ORAS where there's no Joy-Con drift. Okay, also, get this. Guess who they removed? Like, guess what the post-game is missing specifically. Here's a little hint. That's right, out of every prediction I made in my last video, Looker and Cynthia being in the game was the one thing I got wrong. And without the generic looker mission that's in every single entry, this officially means that Sword and Shield has the weakest postgame in almost 20 years. Like, I know looker isn't the best metric for that kind of thing, but still, come on, man. Once I finished the penis hair postgame up, I was sitting there going, damn, did I really say Sun and Moon didn't have a postgame? No legendaries to catch, no new areas to explore, no difficult battles outside of Battle Tower, no reason to get back into competitive, which I'm not even gonna talk about in this video. You know, I haven't touched this game since Thanksgiving, and I have no incentive to do so until June. But hey, at least we can learn the move Steel Beam and rewatch the credits. Oh, I forgot to add those to the list. I want to see that cursor again. Like, y'all saw that shit with the cursor? That was funny. I'll talk about the expansion pass at the end, but what we have so far is bad. Really bad. If the story and music were what brought this game into good game territory, then the lack of post-game content we have so far is what moves it into not so good territory. Oh boy, there are some of them. I read a Tumblr post a while back, which I can't source because it was like a year ago, basically summarizing how the entire business model of Pokemon is to throw out a ton of defining features and replace them with new things entirely each gen, to differentiate each generation, I guess. Now, before I acknowledge the actual features in this section, I just want it to be on the record that this is fucking stupid. From what I can tell, there's no way to know what's gonna be cut, if it's good or bad content, and if the stuff that replaces it is gonna be any good. The entire process is just flawed. Now, with that being said, they brought the fucking bike back! Yeah, fuck you, Tauros! Suck my teeny weeny, you dumbass bull! And that's pretty much the high point. Having gyms back are genuinely great as well, but I don't have the energy to scream about that. I was a bit scared that since it's a stadium setting, there wouldn't be any puzzles and it would just be battles, but no! It's really good! The gym fights were probably the thing that got me the most excited about the game, because the setting and the music actually gets you hyped up, and after we got whatever we got with Sun and Moon, that shit's great, dude. Actual props for that. But, okay, there's some returning stuff that isn't too good. Why bring Alola forms back? I mean, Galar forms. I'm at least thankful that the obsession with Kanto has gone away and we have some cool new evolutions for, like, Yamask and shit, but it kinda just doesn't make sense. Okay, this is a massive nitpick, but weren't Alola forms the product of, like, Pokemon adapting to different environments? Like, actual evolution and shit. Pretty sure there's a big difference between evolving in a more tropical setting and, Great Britain. Well, to be fair, if I grew up in Leeds or some shit, I'd probably look like this too. I don't hate it, but like, why bring that back out of all things? And in terms of noteworthy new features, Pokemon Camp is, it's good, it's fine. I didn't care too much for it, but it's there, and I know a bunch of people really like it. And even though some people hate it, Dynamaxing wasn't as big of a problem as I thought it would be. It's nice that it's only available during gym battles or other important events, which makes it feel more special than I am going to win now. Apparently it's not too hot among the competitive crowd though, like they banned it in singles and shit. I can kinda see why. Other than having the big fancy kaiju battles in gyms, it doesn't really seem that much fun strategically. Like it's just y'all both hit the button at the same time. But hey, even if people don't like it, and even if Megas are still gone, they removed Z moves and that's worth it. I will say though that Gigantamaxing makes less sense. Is it just Dynamaxing but cooler? Like who's determining which Pokemon gets a Gigantamax form? It's mostly Kanto and Galar Pokemon it looks like. God damn it, I just said a minute ago that this company got over their Kanto addiction. See, it feels like Gigantamax Pokemons are just used for extra spectacle during gym battles and whatnot, and not a whole lot else. Like, whoa, cool, this Gigamax is a big cake, and it can use a different move. It's more satisfying to defeat, something along those lines. And actually getting Gigantamax Pokemon is a pain in the ass since, well, I did say that this would get its own section. Everything about this fucking sucks! Even though it wasn't really apparent, it feels like everything about the wild area was just one big selling point of Sword and Shield. With like, you know, all the special items and rewards locked behind these events and battles, but it's bad. It's not good, it's bad all around. I mean, on paper, it's a really neat concept. Having a big open area with a freely rotatable camera and ever-changing weather, Pokemon, and items seems really cool. But God, every time I spent more than 5 minutes here, I wanted out. I just didn't enjoy any part of it. While having the freely roaming wild Pokemon that are high leveled is kinda cool, you can't do anything with them until super late in the game. You can't catch them, and most of the time they're too high leveled for you to run from if you get into a battle with them. So, you know, hopefully you bought a Pokédoll or one of those items that nobody pays attention to. Oh God, and don't even get me started on... Why? What the fuck? Having over-leveled Pokemon in regular patches of grass is a problem at times too. I remember one time I was grinding for the 3rd gym and decided, hey, let's go just a little bit off the beaten path to fight some Pokemon that are higher leveled. And then I got into a fight with like a level 40 Stunky or some shit in a patch of grass that was a few yards away from where I'm, supposed to be doing stuff, apparently. And it took me several turns and several feints to run from. That's fair, yeah, fuck you for exploring an area that's meant to be explored, I guess. The weather feature sucks too. Disregarding the fact that it doesn't make any sense, which, you know, whatever. The fact that you can only catch certain Pokemon in certain areas during certain weather patterns is just lame. Okay, let's say I wanted to catch a Toxel, because the one I got from the daycare for free kinda sucked. Okay, fair enough. I can catch a Toxel in the wild area. But where? Here? During thunderstorms? Alright, cool. So when does that area have a fucking never? Change the date on your Switch to November 1st or fuck off. I'm not even gonna mention the online connection either. I mean, it's literally just a switch the game to 10 FPS button. Again, it's a cool idea seeing everyone else running around the wild area, but god, terrible execution. But that's not even the worst of it. You also have the max raid battles. Wow! I avoided that shit so much that I actually had to go back into the game and play a few to solidify my opinion. Okay, to summarize, the battles are a complete slog to get through most of the time because of the stupid-ass computer opponents. And the rewards you get from the battles aren't even worth it. Like, you can catch these Pokemon, but, you know, if you don't want any of them, then go fuck yourself, I guess. Even the experience candies, which you practically need to max out your Pokemon's levels, aren't even worth it. Like, how many max raid battles would you need to accomplish that, though, getting your team to level 100? How many hours would you need to spend clicking the same super effective move over and over? There's barely any strategy, no fun factor, not even anything to set each battle apart from one another. Everything's just the same, like, why bother? Alrighty, so that was my review of Pokemon Sword and Shield. Overall, an incredibly mixed experience. Every aspect is either really great, really terrible, or a 50-50 mix of really great and really terrible. But that's it. At the end of the day, it sorta sucks. But it's sorta fine too. Man, it sure is a good thing that I didn't leave anything out though, other than competitive. Like, if there was some massive content cut that directly fueled the general disdain for this game upon release, a business decision that directly spits on the game's fanbase and makes a massive dent in the game's quality. Boy, that would really suck. I'm so glad that... In my opinion, every single bit of hate directed at this is absolutely warranted. There are two types of people in the world. People who aggressively express their hate for the National Dex cut and shit on people who defend it, and people who aggressively defend the cut and shit on everyone who hates on it. Now that may be a bit dramatic, but that's what's been going down in the replies of Pokemon's Twitter posts for the past several months now. I've seen people fighting in real life over this shit too. I went to a convention last summer and there were these two guys walking around the venue with literal picket signs defending the cut, with shit written on them like, Pokemon doesn't need the National Dex, and when's the last time you actually used Heatmore, with space below their sign so people could tally whether or not they agreed. Alright, two things about this. One, Heatmore was actually in the game, so get fucked. Two, why? Like, what's the point of doing this? But hey, even though I majored in not getting angry over stuff like this, I have to disagree with these guys in the sentiment that this is a good business practice. It's not. This is it. This is the piss in the cake. Sword and Shield's most defining feature. It's just, it sucks, and it never made any sense. We already know that none of the big quote-unquote high-quality animations they were talking about exist, and cutting shit for balance doesn't mean anything when you're keeping in all the Pokemon that are ridiculously broken. There isn't any real excuse, and I've never been able to find a good one. Nothing to make up for this massive content cut at all. Did it affect my playthrough? No. Well, sort of. I was able to go through the game without saying, man, I can't wait for another paid transfer service to arrive so I can use more Pokemon. But there was also that lingering thought in the back of my head that once I beat the game and whatever excuse for a postgame they had, that would be it. No point in trying to collect whatever was left of the Pokedex. No point in getting the shiny charm so I could potentially get less than half of the existing shinies. Very few changes to the metagame. My $60 game had flatlined 15 hours in. And then, we got this. A massive, if not incomplete, fix to the issue 6 months in. Invalidating a massive part of my script, but also fixing a lot of problems. You know, I was initially saying, if this game had 6 more months in the oven to add more content, it would have been pretty damn good. And, well, here we are. A few weeks ago, I was wondering, what are the next Pokemon games gonna be like? Well, there were two options for a potentially rushed November release this year, in my opinion. Are we gonna get Ultra Sword and Ultra Shield? Or the game's almost exactly the same, except, surprise, we're selling the entire decks as a feature now. Give us another $60. Or are we gonna get Sinnoh remakes held to the same standards, being a borderline incomplete mess that shits all over the game that defined me until I was 12? Well, we got neither. We got this instead. More content, 200 more Pokemon that you can access even if you don't buy the DLC, more legendaries to catch, but for an extra $30. Honestly, I was conflicted when I first saw it and I still am. The angel on my shoulder is saying they fixed some of the biggest problems with this game without shelling the same $60 game again. While the devil is saying, you fucking idiot, you're getting or-ass levels of content for twice the price. That seems to be the main arguing point of those who still aren't happy with this decision. I totally understand, if I'm honest. It sucks that we used to get this much content without having to spend so much money, but honestly, this is my take. It's not the expansion pass you should be upset with. In my eyes, the expansion pass is an acceptable, though incomplete, fix to a number of existing shitty decisions in the main game. Yes, Sword and Shield feel rushed, and it would have been nice to have waited a few more months for more content in the base game. It would have been great to not have the Dex problem in the first place. But look, there's a lot of stuff I mentioned in this video that the expansion pass just invalidates. Now we have a post-game. More legendaries, more areas to explore. Sure, it sucks that it's $30, but would you rather have to spend $60 if they just re-released the game again with all those features? They could have very well done that and made everybody pissed. But what we have is the best thing that they could have done to fix what they had. Like, okay, maybe not the best, maybe not 100% perfect, but it's good. Plus, like I said, you can still trade the National Dex Pokemon they're adding without having to buy the DLC, so that's a massive plus and easily helps to fix the most criticized aspect of Sword and Shield. Again, not perfect, but it deserves praise. Even so, whether or not the expansion pass is actually worth it remains to be seen. I'm optimistic, at least. Like, these fuckers know how to do DLC. I haven't touched Torna, but Octo expansion was great, and I'm not gonna be disappointed with the Fighter's Pass unless they don't put in some of these assholes. But at the very least, the expansion pass is a good start to making this game better. I mean, I'm gonna hold the rest of my judgment until it actually launches, but that's all I have to say. They're fine. No, seriously, they're okay games, but, you know, nothing else, they're fine. I know talking about the wild area and some other stuff may have seriously bogged down this video with negativity, but at the end of the day, these games are average, and that opinion probably won't change until the DLC hits. I was anticipating having to name this video Pokemon Sword and Shield Super Sucks. I still got the alliteration in there, but it doesn't super suck. It sorta sucks. Sword and Shield are inconsistent through and through. The graphics are meh, but the story is good. Until it's bad. There are features that are really bad, and features that are really good. By the end of the game, I said, it's a game that was fine. But then I played the post-game and I said, wait a minute, this game costs $60. And then I made this script. But then they were like, we made this game good for another $30. And I said, okay, sure, why not? Is it better than Gen 5? No. Is it better than Gen 6? Get back to me in 6 months. Is it better than Gen 7? Yes, are you fucking kidding me? Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon were garbage entries, masquerading as games with new content when they were just the same lackluster piece of shit but again. Even with all its faults, Sword and Shield has a distinct identity. It's got good aesthetics, likable characters. If you don't care about some of the stuff I mentioned in this video, then you'll probably like this game. I know I mentioned it more than once, but I had to take massive chunks out of the script when the DLC was announced. Sure, the price tag kinda sucks, but it fixes the two biggest issues with the game. The fact that they're ignoring the buy the game again option they've been doing since forever is worth noting. And, okay, you know what? Fuck it. I am putting my absolute faith in these bozos. The DLC will be worth the money, and the deck slowly being brought back to completion hopefully will shut up all the idiots on Twitter who are still arguing. Guys, I'm begging you, do not fuck this up. So last video, I went on this big sad rant at the end where I was like, maybe these games are good, and I'm just depressed. Well, fuck that. Well, it's true that I haven't experienced genuine happiness in almost 2 years. This whole business model of rush the games so they're out every year is stupid, and they're making an effort to fix it. It's not perfect, but they're taking steps in the right direction. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm excited to see what we have in store for the future. I'm excited for a Pokemon game. Can you believe that? Anyways, I was planning on ending this video with 10 RPGs that are better than Sword and Shield, but I think I can still end off the video with the same joke I always do and have it still be funny. Thanks, everyone.